I'm from New York. In New York, graffiti already existed in the landscape, and it was something that I think just a lot of kids did. And I was really into skating, but most of my friends, really almost everyone, had a graffiti name. Some were more serious about it, and some not so serious, but everyone kind of had a graffiti like kind of nickname. So it was just a very common thing of where I was from. It was very normal. KR is when you hang out with a bunch of other graffiti writers, and maybe they'll write your name. You'll be in a park and they'll write on a bench or a door. So instead of writing Craig, though they wrote Craig with a K, and then it got shortened to KR, and two-letter names where I come from are very common. When I was writing graffiti, I made my own ink. And by making my own ink, I essentially had an unlimited supply. And so I started to use really, big tags with a lot of drips. It was kind of my signature style. I mean, no one else was really doing this today. I mean, no one else was really doing it back then. Today, everybody's doing it. But so it really, I had the ability to stand out. I had the ability, and also you couldn't keep up with me. So it was a bit of an arms race, or technology. I had this tool and the capability, and other people didn't. So I could always have long drips on my tags, and they would stand out on a wall, and other people just, they couldn't really do it as much as I could. So I became known for that. A lot of time passed, fast forward, and eventually I became kind of less interested in graffiti maybe. I mean, I've always been interested in art, I've always been interested in graffiti, but I became a little less interested in graffiti for a few reasons. And what I did was I eliminated my name and just did drips, let's say on a mailbox or on a doorway, places that I used to write graffiti with the same ink, the ink that I was making, but now instead of writing my name KR and having a long drippy tag, I took away my name and just had the long drips. And this became, it was more abstract and a little more open. And I think it attracted a lot of people. They were more interested because they didn't view it as graffiti. And graffiti has a lot of baggage. And so there was a lot of interest in it and a lot of really good feedback. So I kept doing that. And it was on a smaller scale, mailboxes, doorways, objects in the street. Then what I did was I wanted to scale it up. And so so a big part of what I had done with Crink and the time in graffiti, and I'm still doing today really, is taking things and repurposing them for creative tools. So taking an old shoe polish bottle and turning it into a marker, or taking other materials and turning them into inks and making my own inks and markers, pens, etc. So I started working with a fire extinguisher, because now, since I wasn't so interested in writing my name, the fire extinguisher is really hard to control. I was only interested in placing color, placing kind of shapes, color, kind of having a graphic quality. So I was using that and started scaling up into buildings, walls, etc. Crink really started from graffiti. When I was writing graffiti, I mean, graffiti itself has a history of do do-it-yourself kind of culture. So originally you would steal all the paint, you'd steal the space, you know, and you would go and paint something. You would, even if you had to get to it, you have to climb a fence or go to a rooftop. It was really finding it on your own. You weren't really looking at there weren't too many books then, and it was all word of mouth. It was all subculture. So skating is the same way, street skating, where you go out and skate in the street, you find a ledge, you find some stairs, etc. Another side of it was being creative with tools. So I figured out how to make my own ink and to get all of the supplies, to make my own markers that were really effective on the street. Again, I became known for that. You know, I had an aesthetic that was built in to my markers and my inks, and that's it. It was really graffiti. I kept it really pretty a secret, like just because you share it with your friends so that you have an advantage. So only you and your friends have this advantage of having these inks and markers or tools or whatever advantage you might have, you try to keep it close. So that was around 1992, 93. And that was in San Francisco that I was really active with this. In 1998, I moved back to New York, and I met a shop and a creative group called A-Life. They're designers, marketers, and they had a shop, and they really said, "You should sell this ink. You should sell it." So people already knew about Crink, and as I said, I was kind of known for it. I said, "You should sell it," and I was like, I didn't think anybody would be interested to buy it, but as a creative project, I said, okay. They said, "We'll help you bottle it, we'll help you label it, we can sell it in the shop," and so I said, okay, fine, let's do it, and it became one of the best-selling items that they had. It sold out immediately, and I couldn't keep up with the demand. And basically, things just grew from there, and they just kept growing and growing. I could never keep up with the demand. I just kept developing products and kept expanding the brand, and it's been really well received all over the world. It's been great.